Hi everyone, and welcome to our second Women in Industry panel. I'd like to quickly introduce myself. I'm Naomi and I'm an events coordinator for SUCE. Before I introduce our panelists for tonight, I'd like to thank Robert Bird Group for sponsoring today's Women in Industry panel and SUCE. You'll also be seeing them at Careers Night this Wednesday, 4th of May. And fortunately for those who have missed out on getting tickets, we actually managed to secure a few more tickets. So if you haven't gotten it yet, get on it. And yeah, for today's Women in Industry panel, I'd like to introduce Aubrey and Jess. So they are both associates in the structures team at Robert Bird Group. And yeah, we'd just like to introduce them. And yeah, really great to have you guys on board today. And also don't forget to sign up to our sign up form so you don't miss out on PEP hours. And also put in any questions that you have into the Slido link that Liv or Sangeetha will be putting in soon. So Aubrey, would you like to start off by introducing yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. So my name is Aubrey. I'm an associate at Robert Bird Group in the Sydney Structures team. I've been in the engineering industry as a structural engineer for just over 9 years now. You can probably tell from the accent. I'm from New Zealand and I grew up there and studied there. Once I finished my degree, I worked in New Zealand for 3 years. I then moved to the UK and worked over in the UK for 2 years. While I was in the UK, I got the job at Robert Bird Group in our London office. And after working there for a year, when my visa was up, I decided to make the move to Sydney and have been working in the Sydney office since then. I've been working on buildings projects and most of my time has been spent working on the One Sydney Harbour project, which is a big residential development with 3 towers going up next to Crown Casino at the moment, which has been very exciting and occupying most of my time over the last few years.
Great. And Jessica, what about you?
Hi everyone, I'm Jess and I'm also an associate at Robert Bird Group. I've been with Robert Bird for about 7 years or just over 7 years, and I came straight from university. So I was an undergrad, went into grad, engineer, senior associate. So that typical route. I've worked on many projects. It's been a great experience here. We specialize, in our structures team, we did a lot of high rise to mid rise, and I've done things like apartments, office buildings, mixed use. And I'm just trying to think off the top of my head what I've done, but yeah, that's pretty much it for an intro.
Yeah. To start off with our first question, I'd like to ask, what made you choose civil engineering in the first place? Aubrey, would you like to start off?
Yeah, sure. So when I grew up, I hate to admit it now, but I always wanted to be an architect when I was younger. And it wasn't until about my final year at high school when I sat down and spoke to a careers person at school that I kind of thought, hey, engineering actually sounds pretty cool and sort of aligns with where my interests are. And I can still be involved in that construction industry and be involved in the design of buildings as an engineer. So I actually didn't decide to go into civil engineering until my final year of high school. I didn't really know much about engineering or what engineers did before then, but have never looked back since then.
Yeah, I think I share similar experiences with you. What about you, Jessica?
Sorry, I couldn't unmute just then. What made me choose engineering? I guess thinking back into high school times, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And how can you know? You've never done anything but go to school. So I just thought, okay, what are the subjects I like? And I did a lot of maths and physics and that stuff. And then it just went, it was a bit of a step by step, like, all right, what can I do with this? And, I'll just try engineering. And then I just suddenly got here, like it just kind of just fell into place. it was never really like, oh, I want to do this or I want to do that. I just sort of went with the path that I was on, and it ended up being a great decision.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you're, still working in civil engineering at the moment. And so, Jessica, would you like to start off with your initial role in the industry and kind of how did you get that first role?
Sure. So where I went to university, we had to do, I think it was 12 weeks placement for our final or the second last year. I can't remember now off the top of my head. And then I was just applying to some places. I wasn't really sure. And then suddenly someone suggested Robert Bird Group. And honestly, I'd never heard of it. I didn't know anything about Robert Bird Group. And I went in and I did my 12 weeks, and they have a great program here. So they have like a cadetship almost, I think. I'm not sure what they call it precisely here. And you work in a team, and then after the 12 weeks are up, because sometimes it's a few people, they might ask you to stay on or come on as a undergrad for part-time. So I did 12 weeks like full-time during the summer break, and then I went on to once or twice a week throughout my last year of uni, and then I came on as a graduate engineer. And then I said the story before, but then it just it progressed from there. So worked with a team, just started helping out on a few things, then got my own jobs, went from engineer to all that. And that's my story.
Nice. Yeah, I feel like some people would share similar experiences with doing an undergrad degree and continuing on with their company. And how was it like for you, Aubrey?
I have a very different experience. So my similar at the university that I went to in Auckland, we had to do work placement as well over the summer holidays. However, my first role in work placement was working for a rock blasting company. So they put explosives into the ground in construction sites to break up the rock so that it could be easily excavated. Which is very, very different to what I'm doing at the moment. But that opportunity came up sort of through a family friend, and I ended up sort of falling into it. I did really enjoy it, and I learned a lot, even just being out on the construction side and sort of getting experience to working on a construction side and in the industry. I found that experience very valuable. I did still decide at the end of that I wanted to continue on my path with structural engineering. So I did end up going for a graduate role as a structural engineer.
Nice. Yeah. It's really cool to see like how your career path has changed. And so maybe starting with you, Aubrey, how did the opportunity present itself to start working at RBG, and what do you love working at about there?
So the opportunity presented itself to me in London. So I had a friend that worked for the company in the London office, and I was already over there. I worked for a very small local company in London before that. And I had this opportunity came up to work on Battersea Power Station redevelopment, which is this massive residential and commercial development next that incorporate it's a bunch of new buildings as well as refurbishment of the existing power station building. That's all finished over the last couple of years and opening up now. Anyway, I got the opportunity to go and work on that, and I thought that sounded like an amazing project to work on and great experience. It was also right before construction, so it was not a site-based role. It was still working. We're still a consultancy, but I got to work with the full design team, so the architects and services consultants and builders, all in one co-located site office. So we were constantly bouncing ideas off of each other and being able to have that interactive communication, which was great. So that was my first role with RBG, and I absolutely loved it. And since then, have moved to Sydney and worked on a few projects in Sydney. As I said before, I've been working on One Sydney Harbour, which is almost built now, and that's been a pretty cool project to work on. So I think both of those projects have definitely been up there for me in terms of highlights in my career. And I've just started working on another 40-story commercial building that's sitting on top of an existing heritage building, and that's in the very early stages, but also another very, very exciting engineering project I'm looking forward to working on.
Yeah, that's so cool that yeah, Robert Bird has allowed you to work in different countries as well.
Yeah.
Could you go into a little bit more detail about that? Like, how do they allow you to work overseas?
Yeah, so we've got offices all over the world. And it was relatively easy. I ended up taking some time off to travel. So I didn't go straight from London to Sydney, but I did keep in contact with the Sydney office throughout that period. And then when I got into Sydney, I'd had an interview already in London. So it was a relatively smooth and easy process to transfer. I would say a good portion of people, and I don't know if it's the same for you, Jessica, a lot of people, at least in the Sydney office, have done some stint overseas, whether that be in London. We've also got offices in New Zealand, the US, the Middle East, and Hong Kong.
Wow, that's so many opportunities to try out different projects or different teams. And yeah, what about you, Jessica? What has your experience at RBG been like?
What can I say? It has not been as exciting as Audrey's, that's for sure. I've just been in Melbourne this entire time. It's been a crazy ride. I have done a lot of projects. So I'm pretty sure in my first 5 years, I had already done like 7 projects, like seen them from the ground up. So I've been here, I've already done 9 from start to finish. So I call them my babies. And I drive past now, that's my baby number 1, currently working on like another 4 right now. It's just insane. So, and they range from concept to in construction, or, could be really, really early days, like just, looking at some things for some clients and what I think works, what I think doesn't work. Is it feasible? Is it not? Stuff like that. So it's been a hell of a journey. I've done a lot. So I've had great opportunities. Great opportunities. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely cool to have so many projects that you're so proud of and you get to pass by. Yeah, what do you love working about? What do you love about working in Robert Bird Group?
What do I love about it? I love my team. We have a great team. It's very, I think we could say we're a pretty young team, and, it just brings you, it makes you look forward to coming into the office. So the workload is a lot, there's always builders calling you and asking for things, or architects wanting you to change things that, might not work. But I guess, the team that we have here, there's always someone to lean on, someone that you can ask questions, someone that, might have some experience in other things. So you don't really feel alone. Don't really feel like you have to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. You can always ask someone else to help you.
Yeah, that does sound like a great team. And is it similar for you, Aubrey?
Yeah, I would have a similar response to that as well. I think the people definitely make one of the key things I like about my job and role the most. The people I work with, and having such talented people to learn off of in the business as well, and in our offices. Obviously, the projects are also awesome to work on. We've been given some pretty great opportunity in terms of projects. So I'd say those are the two things I probably like the most about Robert Bird Group.
Yeah. And I know you guys mentioned a few of your favorite projects or your babies. So could you choose 1 or 2 and let us know why you love them so much?
Yeah, sure. I've already probably gone on about it a bit, but One Sydney Harbour is one of them. So just a bit more of a description in terms of what it is. So it's a residential development next to Crown Casino. There's a 72-storey tower, a 68-storey tower, and a 30-storey tower, all with a shared basement. It's been a really complicated project. The towers are quite small in footprint and very tall, which makes them quite slender and sensitive to movements under horizontal movements under wind, and then also vertical movements just from the weight of the building. So there's been a lot of very complicated engineering problems to work through. I've also had an amazing project team on that project. Everyone's been really supportive and so great to work with. So it's made it a really, really good experience over the last 3.5 years or so.
Nice. Yeah, I think, engineers are problem solvers, and it's great to be able to work in a great team. And what about you, Jessica?
It's hard to say which ones are my favorite. I feel like I'm cheating on one to say that I like that one better. But I guess I'd start with my first project that I worked on from start to finish. That was 12 Queens Road, just out of the city. It was a 19-story apartment building with 3-level basement. It was in the water table, so it had to be designed for water pressure. What else? It had a huge canopy that wrapped around it. In terms of the building, it was nothing special that you jaw dropping or anything. But to me, has a place in my heart. The next one I'd say is something that I haven't done before, and that's why I liked it. It was an existing pub in Brunswick that was established in 1846. So they built apartments behind it, but we also went in and did some structural strengthening to the existing pub, and we just got to see bricks that were just over 100 years old, and supported them, and saw once they stripped away all the layers of the building and the things that had been done, it was just really interesting to see how long that structure had been there, and how sentimental it was to the Brunswick area, and how they tried to save it and give it life. And I really appreciated that. Felt like I had a part in history.
Yeah, that sounds like a really unique project to be working on. Sounds really cool about all the projects that you've done. And I'd really like to ask, were there any reality versus expectations in relation to being a female in the construction or civil engineering industry?
I think for me, I don't know, it's a funny one, because at university, at least at the university that I went to, and I think I can say at most universities, it's already a very male-dominated degree. So you sort of have that. I found that I had that expectation. I was more surprised sort of coming into university and being one of the only females in the classroom, rather than by the time I got through university and came into the workplace, I was sort of used to being the minority, or being in a male-dominated industry. So I guess my expectations, I'd say, was kind of somewhat, what I experienced at university was similar to what I'd experienced in the workplace. I think one thing that did surprise me in the workplace is actually that isn't just limited to engineering. In going along to meetings, I find that I can still often be the only female in a room of 20 people, and this is builders, property developers, architects, building services engineers, and all the other disciplines as well. So it's not just engineering, it's actually across the whole industry, which I guess I didn't realize quite the extent of that before I'd actually entered the workforce.
Yeah, I think that was also a surprise for me too, going into university and the industry. My experience was like, oh, I am in the minority. How was it like for you, Jessica?
I think Aubrey hit the nail on the head there. My experience was exactly the same. I guess when I came to the office, there was a few females, and I really loved that. There was girls in my team, and there was a lot of females in the other areas. So that was okay. It was going to meetings where you're in a room just full of men. Not that, I've never really felt like they were looking at me like, oh, that's a woman. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't feel like that. I think it's your own. You just feel it internally. Like, you just notice, like, I'm the only girl here. But I've never been made to feel uncomfortable or anything. I think it's just something you just notice as a woman.
Yeah.
And yeah, going on sites, pretty much all men, stuff like that. But I guess that it was to be expected.
Hmm.
So it
Yeah.
wasn't a shock. It was just like a wow, like I don't know. It was just a bit surreal.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess for those experiences that you've had in meetings, where you were a minority, how did you advocate for yourself professionally, and what are some of your tips for that?
I'm happy to go first. I think for me, I think when I first started in my career, I was fortunate to work with some very good mentors when I was younger, and as a graduate, both female and male as well, which I found really helped whenever you did get into a tough situation or something you weren't too sure about, whether that be on a technical or or non-technical level. It was good to have those people that you could trust, that you could talk to within the business. So I found that really helpful. I also think, I don't know, sometimes I think, as Jess said before, sometimes it is all in your head. So you might walk into a room and say, wow, I'm the only female in this room, and feel uncomfortable about that, but no one else is probably thinking that. So sometimes I find it really useful to sort of take a step back and say, hey, look, some of the stuff is all in my head. I'm here, I'm more than capable of doing my job, I've proved myself. There's no reason why I should be thinking some of these thoughts internally.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something great to think about when you're in those situations, that you're more than capable and you're meant to be there. Yeah. What about you, Jessica?
Yeah, I agree 100%. You've got to think it shouldn't be based off whether you're a female or you're a male. You're there to do a job, and you've just got to say what you think as well. So I just try to stop. I don't know, sometimes I feel like I might be embarrassed, or they might laugh at something stupid that I say, but it's your thoughts and what you think does work and doesn't work, and you've just got to voice your opinions, and don't let that hold you back. It shouldn't be about men and women or anything like that. It should just be like, this is the job, this is the task at hand, we're all working on the project, what can I contribute to make this better? And that's it. You just got to keep going and be true to yourself. Don't change for whatever, don't just act the way you think you've got to act because you're in a room full of men. Or true to yourself, say what you're thinking, speak up, say what you think works, and just don't even let it be a thing that you're the only girl there.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's something that we can all take home. And moving on, would you guys like to talk about your proudest achievement career-wise so far?
For me, I think it's actually the thing that I find that I am the most proud about is actually seeing some of the projects that I've worked on be built and come to life, and being able to drive past that and say, hey, I was responsible for the design of that. Is pretty cool, and definitely I think the most proudest and most rewarding part of my career.
Yeah, there's definitely that tangible aspect of civil engineering that makes you be able to see it, see all your hard work in progress. And you, Jessica?
Yeah, that's pretty much the same for me. I really enjoy, not that sounds bad, like I enjoy seeing the things I built. It's not really that. It's just, all that hard work, you see a final product, and that it gives you some real, I don't know, it's like a gift for all the hard work that you've done. There's something standing there and it's beautiful and it looks great and standing, and that's the main thing. But I think the other part as well is running a team. I co-run a team with my original mentor that was here 7 years ago. We have a team of about 8 people, 8 or 9, just looking around. And it's great because everything you learn, you can pass on, and you can test yourself as well, because sometimes there's things that as you move up, you can't really do everything. So you have to give these tasks to other people, and you sort of forget those mundane tasks. And then it's nice to when people come and ask you for help, it really jogs, you have to like think back, like, oh my God, I don't even remember how to do that. I haven't done it in so long. It just jogs your memory and it keeps you up to date with the latest, the latest codes and the latest calcs and stuff like that, because everyone's asking you questions and you need to know the answer. So yeah, I think the team aspect is a great achievement of mine as well.
Yeah, I think it's so cool that you get to run a team with your original mentor. That really shows like your progress
Yeah.
in your work. And I'd like to ask, in terms of companies mandating a minimum percentage of women on their board or executive teams, what are your thoughts on that?
Look, I would love to see a higher percentage of females on executive boards, and I think it's an important goal to work to. I don't think that making mandates is the only way of achieving that, and I think that would need to be done with a lot of other procedures and things in progress to help women get to those positions where they are ready to be on the board, and encouraging more women to be on the board by but I think that also needs to come with making sure that women are given the right opportunities to get to that level, given the right experience and the right support to achieve that. And even stuff like parental leave, because a lot of females do decide to go off and females and males decide to have a family at some point in their career. And it usually in most cases at the moment, sadly, it means that the female is the one that is taking the most amount of time off work and sort of putting their career on pause for some period of time. So I think companies having really good parental leave policy and flexible working policies in place that allows females to come back to work if that's what they wish to do, and also and allows their partners to be there to support them along the way is also very important.
Yeah, it's definitely, I really resonate with all the points that you've said there. And what are your thoughts on this, Jessica?
I have to agree. I don't think that mandating a minimum percentage is the right answer. I wouldn't want to feel like, oh, they're just putting me here because they have to just tick a box and say, we've put a woman in this team. I want to achieve that on my own and know that they've chosen me because I'm the right person for that role. So I think having the support is key. Having the opportunities to raise a family or, do other things that you want to do, because, for some people, that's their main priority as well. Like, and it might only be a few years that you're away. And then, once your kids are old enough, what are you going to do? Just sit at home? There's those opportunities. They just should support us more and give us that time to do that. And then when we're back, share our time with, do part-time or something. Then when we're back, we can go into those roles and like management and stuff like that. Because I think when you have your time away as well, it's a bit hard to get the ball rolling again and get back into it. So I think, some more support and just them acknowledging that we're the right people for that role.
That's true. And I guess, coming back, they could bring a different perspective in terms of management and how they work. Yeah. And so in terms of Robert Bird Group, where do the young graduates or undergraduates fit into your company? What kind of teams or experiences would they have?
So for this in our office at the moment, we have I think we have 5 or 6 undergraduates that are turning into graduates soon, and a couple of graduates, and we've got more starting within the next year as well. We usually we put all undergraduates and graduates into a team, and we'll pair them up with someone who's got a few years experience on them. And that's sort of their go-to person to ask any questions, and who will give them their work and help guide them and support them and train them from a technical perspective, but then also any questions more broadly on how the business works, or they've got someone to go to. We also, that being said, that's not the only person that they work with. We try and get undergraduates and graduates, if it's something they want to do, to work across different teams or on different projects, so that they are learning new things constantly. So, and I guess we're pretty flexible in terms of what, if there's one area that someone's particularly interested in going into, we'll try and get them experience in that area. We have a lot of internal training within the office. We have training for all of our staff, but then graduates and undergraduates also get together. I think it's either every 2 weeks or every 4 weeks, and they have their own training sessions where they set the topics that they want to go through. And they'll either get someone more senior in to give a bit of a presentation and training, or they'll do that amongst themselves.
Yeah, nice. And is it similar for you, Jessica?
Yeah, pretty much. So in our team, we just have a range of experience. So it'll start from, we'd have 1 or 2 undergrads, 1 or 2 grads, 2 engineers, 2 seniors maybe, and then the associates. So it just trickles down or trickles up. It kind of goes back and forth. So it just helps. The undergrads are really helping us. We really need that support, because sometimes we have like meetings and site inspections and other stuff that it might be time-consuming tasks that are pretty simple, but someone just needs to do them. So that normally we give those tasks to the grads, because it's a learning task, and you get to spend maybe a whole day on one thing, and you really learn it. It's not like a 5-minute quickly do this, do that, do this, do that. And what we like to do is that once we get a grad or undergrad on that job or on that task, they sort of stay on that job and they see that develop, or they might do that same task for multiple jobs. So they really just learn that skill. It could be things like checking columns or checking slabs or something like that. It sounds mundane, it sounds boring, but it just becomes such a natural thing. Like you just see a slab and you look at a span, you're like, yes, that's going to work, because you've done the check 1,000 times, and you just learn like that. The more no one expects you to come out of uni knowing how to design a building. It's just not a thing. I remember when I first started, I was like, oh my gosh, like I don't know how to design this slab, or I don't know how to design this column. It just, everything you learn at uni, I think you just try to memorize a calc or whatever, try to pass the exam and stuff like that. And then you see it in real life, and the exam has questions that tells you exactly what you need to do, and then you just come up with the calc. In real life, you don't have any instructions, and you've got to come up with that size, or come up with that reinforcement, come up with a length and all that stuff. So no one expects you to know that stuff, which is, I think, the main thing here. We know that you don't know it, and you've got to learn it. And through time, you really just learn everything quickly.
Yeah, I guess that's really reassuring that you guys know that we come out with no experience, but you're also so willing for us to learn. And yeah, Jessica, you mentioned a lot about support. So how has RBG supported you from like your undergrad to associate now?
Well, I guess they paired me with a mentor, and I've been really lucky that this mentor has stuck by me this past 7 years, and we've done everything together. So that has been great. I guess also with tasks that maybe I didn't understand, like I'll give it a go, and then if I didn't understand something, there's always someone around that can offer their advice, or they might see something a different way and say, well, I think it's like this, or I think it's like that. So I think even in the team, everyone can come and give their opinion on something and how they think it works, and it just opens up even your own mind to think, okay, I'm thinking about this the wrong way, I should be thinking about it like this, or so on and so forth. So I guess the support is, from our mentors, that's the main thing. But even just from the group and office wide, if you don't know something, you could walk to the other side of the office to someone that you hardly even speak to, like it's not in your team, and they could offer up a completely different suggestion. And everyone's just willing to help, and that's I guess what I think is really supportive and really great about RBG.
Yeah, that sounds great. Especially being able to just reach out to people who aren't even in your team for them to help you out. And yeah, what about you, Aubrey?
Yeah, I agree. I think with what Jess said is I think that support and that flexibility. So it's not sort of you're put in a team and you sort of have to stick to your team. You're kind of encouraged to go out and get a different perspective or different opinions from a different team or even a different department. And we do a lot of work across teams as well as within our teams, which kind of helps build those relationships. And everyone's so willing to help and happy, particularly when you're, I mean, at any stage, I still go across the office and ask some of the people in other teams questions that I know that they've had a lot of experience doing that I might not have had as much experience doing, and everyone's always more than willing to help out.
Yeah. Sounds really supportive and sounds like a really great environment to work in, actually. And yeah, I'd like to now move on to some future and conclusion questions. So what are you guys hoping to achieve in your careers next?
So for me, I guess for the near future, I moved into a role of leading a team towards the end of last year. So I just want to sort of do a really good job in that role, set up my team and make sure that we're all succeeding and happy, and I continue to learn across lots of different projects. Eventually, in the future, I'd like to move into the more senior management position. But that's sort of what I'm hoping to achieve.
Sounds great. And what about you, Jessica?
My goals are pretty much the same, actually. I've only just started running the team with my mentor, and I would like to see that progress, and I'd like to see, just our team members happy and seeing their projects finished. It's, I want to just make sure that they're enjoying their time here at work as well, and that they're feeling supported. And down the track, I'd love to have a management role, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, sounds great to be leading. Was it the 4 projects that you have on at the moment?
Sorry?
The 4 projects that you have on at the moment?
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you guys were to make one major change to the industry and engineering in terms of equality, what would that be? Jessica, do you want to start us off? Oh.
No, you go, Jess.
Yes, I can start you off. What would I do? I guess I'd try to make engineering a little bit more appealing at a younger age. So I think at university, not even at university, at high school, it was never really a thing. Like we had, I'm trying to remember, it feels like a lifetime ago, but it also feels like it was just yesterday. But we had people come in and do presentations on jobs. We had like a careers week or something, and engineering just wasn't a thing. And sorry, I should also say that I went to an all-girls school. So maybe if I was at a co-ed school, that would have been an option, but I kind of think that it wasn't really something that we spoke about. I don't know any of my friends that I went to high school with that went into engineering. So I think, if we made it a little bit more appealing right back at high school, I think we'd see a lot more females in the industry. And I think that would be nice if we could change that and just have a bit more females in there. I think that would be beneficial for us as well.
Yeah, I think quite a lot of organizations are really promoting STEM, and especially STEM for women as well, encouraging women to go into, I guess a bit more male-dominated industries. And would love to see those initiatives be more prominent today. And what about you, Aubrey?
that is exactly the same as what I would like to see more of as well. Yeah, look, I would love to see more females in the industry. Is the one thing I would change, and I completely agree with Jess. It's not really. I went to an all-girls school when I was younger as well in high school, and it wasn't really advertised or discussed. I had no idea what an engineer did. And sort of just kind of not fell into engineering accidentally, but I mean, I got lucky and spoke to the right person right before I was making that decision. But I mean, I might not have, and then I wouldn't have ended up where I am today. So it'd be great to promote that more at high schools. And I think the one thing I'd love to change is telling people I'm an engineer and people not sort of being shocked or like, oh wow, you're a female. There's not a lot of those in the industry, is there? Just being a normal thing, and something, or not having any clue what engineers do. So it'd be great to see a higher level of females in the industry and it becoming a bit more normal.
Yeah, that would be great to see that change in the industry. And what's one piece of advice that you would have for young females who are entering the workforce today? Jess, do you want to start? Oh, sorry.
Go, Jess.
That's all right. I guess a piece of advice I would give is that, oh gosh, I don't know. I'm trying to think. There's so many things I want to say, but also don't want to say. I guess what it comes down to is just be yourself and don't be afraid to make mistakes and ask questions or ask for help. You can't do everything all by yourself. Like, some things you need help or you need guidance, and just don't be afraid to ask for that help, because like I said before, no one expects you to know everything. You're at a new job, like no matter what the role is, you can't just walk into a store and know how to sell things as well, like how the cash register works. Simple things like that. You've got to learn, and you've got to give yourself time, and you can't be so hard on yourself if you don't pick something up straight away. It takes time and it's a process, and just go with the flow, learn, talk to people, ask for help, and you'll just get there. Things just fall into place somehow. Sometimes I don't even know how it happens, and you're just like, oh, that was easy, like I did it. So I think step by step, you just get there, and don't be too hard on yourself. So that's my advice.
Definitely a work in progress, and that's why we have such a great you guys have such a great team to help you on whatever you need help with. What's one piece of advice that you would have, Aubrey?
Yeah, I think for me, it would be to back yourself on stuff, and don't be afraid to speak up. Because I still find that hard sometimes, and I think, I know I have a tendency to or at least, especially when I was early off starting in my career, I was kind of afraid of saying the wrong thing, so I didn't say anything at all or sounding silly. So I think my piece of advice would be, there's no stupid questions, and don't be afraid to speak up. You'll probably find that what you're saying, there's nothing wrong with what you're saying, and it's not a silly question, and it's
only silly answers. That ends our interview questions for today. I'd like to give the floor to Sangeetha for Q&A.
Thanks, Naomi. I thought you asked some great questions. I'll just screen share the questions from the Slido. So the first question, top question that we got is, what is day-to-day life at an engineering firm like? Maybe we'll start with Aubrey.
So it varies from day to day, to be honest, and it really depends on a lot of things, and that's what I love about it. There's never a boring day, and it's never doing the same thing day after day. There's always new challenges, and depending on what stage of the project that you're working on, you might be going down to site, or you might be in the office doing calcs, you might be going to design meetings. It can range completely. depending on what's on that particular day and what stage your project's on. And I think that's one of the most exciting things that I like about engineering as well.
Yeah, it's quite dynamic. So Jessica, do you have anything else to add?
No, that's pretty much right. Like, no day is the same. There's always a different challenge. There's always a different phone call, a different error, something that happened on site. There's things that are out of your control as well. So every day is a surprise.
That's fun. So the next question is, what has your company done to address the current social and gender issues? Maybe we'll start with Jessica.
I guess they have been doing, we have been involved in a few things. I'm trying to think, because since COVID, it's been a bit jumbled and it's been a bit strange. There's still people at home, there's still people in the office. But previously, before then, we used to get involved in a few, there was like this workshop thing. It was during the day, and it was about the female students in engineering, and we helped run a workshop there. I can't even remember what that was now. But yeah, that was great. I remember meeting a lot of students, and we spoke about things and did tasks, and I don't know, built buildings out of marshmallows and sticks or something like that. But it was a day, it sounds ridiculous, but it was a day to like just really chat to people. I remember I didn't know any female engineers when I was at uni, and I never got introduced to one. So I think it's really beneficial to see someone in that role and sort of imagine your life and what could it be like. So I guess, our company's good at doing stuff like that. Even today, what we're doing now, we didn't have anything like this when I was at uni. So, it's great that RBG get involved with this, because you can sort of picture your life, picture, what it would be like, what you can achieve, what I've achieved, you can use, and what Aubrey has achieved, you can just use as inspiration. You can really see yourself in that role. I think that's really beneficial.
Yeah, and I love the marshmallow stick challenge.
Yeah.
So Aubrey, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I think just to add on that, I know there's definitely leadership training opportunities that I personally have found very helpful, that the company's provided. That goes for females and males. But I think that, those are really valuable. We also have quite a generous parental leave policy in place, which is far above the government minimum, which I also think is a really important. Some further on what I was saying earlier, I think it's a really important thing to make sure that all companies have something similar in place that allows both males and females to take that time off of work. We've got a flexible working policy in place now, especially post-COVID, where we don't necessarily, before COVID we were flexible to some extent, but now we've certainly gotten a lot more flexible, and it's no longer, it's a lot more normal to see people either working from home because they've got to pick up their kids early, or because they've got other commitments on, which I think is also a really important policy to have in place for any company.
Yeah, of course. So what are some policies which help support women in the workplace? I think you kind of just answered that, but maybe Jessica had something else to add?
No, Aubrey's pretty much summarized. She's done a great job there. But yeah, I mean, the working from home, that has been, I think it needed that kick in the bum from the COVID pandemic. We get something good out of that. Let it be working from home. But just that flexibility, I know there's so many people, whether you're a man or a woman, so many people with kids that sometimes, things happen, you need to leave. And I think before you'd stress like, oh, if I leave now, I've got to go, and, I've got to come back, or, you stress about things. Or I know myself, I would probably try and find someone else to do it. And then I'd stress out a whole bunch of people, when in reality, I could just go and do what I have to do, bring my computer, and work from home. It's not a big deal. And I think it's really great now that we have this flexibility.
Yeah, definitely. I think working from home is a game changer across
Yeah.
pretty much every industry. Yeah, I don't know if Aubrey has anything.
Yeah, I think I guess one other thing I can think of is we have a lot of events on that celebrate diversity, and we'll do a similar panel event to this actually, and we did one earlier this year that I was involved with internally. So we'll hear from our CEO was part of that, but some of the senior leaders, male and female, and women within the company, and discuss some of those more difficult topics to discuss around diversity, gender biases, and that, which I think is really important. It's important that we're talking about it, and that everyone, whether you're a male or a female, is discussing that and aware of some of the issues that arise.
Yeah, for sure. I think this might be the second last question. How difficult is it to enter a professional engineering industry straight out of university? And what kind of expectations are required of a fresh graduate?
Well, I guess I was pretty lucky in finding this job. It had come from a friend of a friend of a friend, and had heard from someone, it just magically appeared, I guess. And I shouldn't say magically, because I did try, and I looked at other places, and there are so many engineering firms that do offer these opportunities, and they want to get the grads in, because I think for them as well, it's a benefit, because they're teaching you straight from uni the things that they want you to learn, and how their company runs and things like that. So don't let that scare you off. I'm just a grad, I don't know anything. Like the companies, and especially our company, they love getting the grads in, the undergrads in, because you learn everything from scratch, and you also have like a fresh mind, and like things that you've done at uni, new programs, something as simple as, like, right now I'm using a program called Bluebeam, which is just for markups. And I remember when I first started it, no one had heard about it, and my team lead at the time just asked me, like, just a little topic. He was like, "Oh, can you look at this Bluebeam? Like, I don't know what this is." And we now use this program throughout the office and just industry wide, and it's just simple. You just markups, but it helps your life. And they want to give you those tasks where they don't really have time to do that stuff, but it does change. It changes your life. So I can't imagine, like, I remember when I first started, everything I did was sketched on butter papers, which is like a clear see-through paper, and you do a sketch, and then you get that sketch and you put it on another page. Now all I do is Control-C, Control-V, like on a program. So it's a good thing that you have grads in, because they offer a new perspective and new things. So, and they don't expect too much. Like what I said before, no one expects you to know how to design a building, or use e-tabs and design a bridge the day you come to work. So they know that you're going to learn, and it's a good thing.
That's so reassuring to hear. Aubrey, do you have anything else to say?
I completely agree with what Jess said. I think expectations are very low when you're starting as a graduate or undergraduate. You sort of expect that, yes, you've learned some of the fundamentals at university, but there's a lot to learn, and you're sort of you're not starting from scratch, but you're almost starting from scratch again, in terms of all the software programs and design codes that we use. Yes, you might get some exposure to that at university, but you're sort of given all of the parameters. So it is a very different way of it's very different to what you learn in an exam or university environment, and I think everyone's aware of that, and everyone's very willing to help and answer questions and guide and teach graduates.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that would be the last question for today. I'll hand it back over to Naomi. Thank you for your amazing answers. Yeah. I think you're on mute, Naomi.
I'd just like to say a really big thank you for Aubrey and Jessica for joining us today. It was great to be able to hear about your experiences, and hope you guys all the best on leading your teams.